beyond the corrals and the pens of consensus and conformity. Back in high school, I and my associates talked of a cognitive mindset we called the deep end. So called because it was a subjective state of mind we'd acquire when things were getting out of control of our individual coping mechanisms. We were off the chain in our dissociation with any of the mores and mindsets of our peers and contemporaries at the school. Flash forward 5 decades later, and I see that it was not so much that we jack-offs were so past the bounds out there, but that everyone else was so into their corrals and pens of parochial and provincial thinking. Only because my serial nomadic ways brought me to the Omaha area, I was able to choose those terms of metaphoric pens and corrals that I saw of the Omaha stockyards. While I was in Omaha doing a courier delivery job, one of my stops was at the stockyards for a drop-off. While returning to my vehicle, I passed by a cattle truck loaded up with new arrivals. I passed within 10 feet of a truck and was able to see the eyes of a beast peering out the openings in the side of a truck. That look of theirs, of too late aware cognizance, and its accompanying look of fright, evoked pity in me for those beasts who never knew what was to be their fate. Page 2. Those beasts had been so indifferently content with their existence in the grazing pastures that they probably didn't care about any other dimension that could be their existence and fate. That trusting mindset that there were no serious conceptions beyond that contented indifference in the pastures they had was a delusion. The observation correlated with what I am observing in human behavior, and even with the most good-willed people who have found themselves subject to this mindless herd paradigm. People place themselves in some comfortable and seemingly secure social collective, adopting the consensus of that collective so to be adherent to, if not cohesive with, the mores of that collective. That's when it becomes clear that the mental cubicles in which we surround ourselves explain the social, tangible, and intangible cubicles we see of and know of in neighborhoods and polling data. Page 3. It is a pervasive cultural expression of herding and aggregating around some social perceptual bias, trends, media trendsetters, and worst of all, the punditry icons. Partially, and from no intentional fault of their own, these pundits become polarity points of aggregation for followers who use the pundits' words as a primary to sole tool and justification for their own individual reason for their herd aggregation, their identity, and consensual thinking and being. And much like the iron filings around the magnetic poles, the followers are captured in the magnetism of a grouping and its thinking. Very much like those stockyard pens and corrals, they are captured in thought and habit as much as the beasts in the stockyards are trapped for their mortal fate. People, to maintain their association to these collectives, adhere most docilely to unethically to a most marginally arguable logic for the sake of being emotionally connected with a or any social grouping. That adherence is the inherent self-limiting mental corral that might as well be a pen in a stockyard to the slaughterhouse of their emotional, if not their very physical doom. That's what I have to say.